welcome to Something to Talk About. Here we are at King's into Mooning, and thank you to the staff and, of course, all of the people behind the kitchen for the chaser platter. You've got to get it. And the food bowl, which, well, it used to be a bowl, but now it's a plate. We're so happy to have this kind of food up here because we've got some great guests, and they enjoy, like, I'm sure, a variety of stuff. Having been exposed to the stuff that you've been exposed to, this is Scott Clark, and this is Jennifer McFerran. Both of them are part of a great program called Japan Exchange Teacher Program. It's been around for a while, and if you have any luck like Scott did, you'd go to Japan and find your life mate and get married and live to just come back and brag about it. Jennifer McFerran, however, you know Jennifer, she's done a lot of marketing on Guam. And it was also a part of the program, and joins us here to talk about the experiences. It's, you know, it's very, I don't know if it's rare, but it's always interesting that people who come in later in life can still experience these kinds of exchange programs that you would normally see in a high school or college. But this is an interesting one because it's just focused just on the relationship and the language relationship that we have with Japan. And exclusive to the country, yes? Yeah,
yes.
Okay. I'm going to start with you, Scott, because Scott was with us the last time that Jet was with us on the radio. We had an interview with them, and his story was just as intriguing today as it was the last time we talked. But you want to tell us a little bit how you got into it later in life? I mean, it was after college or during college?
It was after college.
Okay.
And I had actually moved to Taiwan first. As soon as I graduated from college, I had studied finance and international business, but I moved overseas. I moved to Taiwan first, and I lived there for a year and 3 months. I didn't like it at the time. It was the...
Well, it was like you talked about it. It's just a bustling city.
Yeah, I was dropped in the middle of it was rather polluted at the time. Taiwan's completely different now, but at the time it was industrializing and not the most appealing place to be at the time. So I went back to the United States and I applied to the JET program because I really wanted to live in Asia, and I wanted to go back, and I wanted to go back and have an experience that I would enjoy, and that's exactly what happened.
So the experience that you're signing up for, jump here and anytime too, Jennifer, the experience that you're signing in for is to be able to speak the language while being immersed in some forum, like either through the government or in a teaching capacity.
Yes.
Okay.
The program actually has multiple sponsors. There's the Ministry of Education. So your official title is Assistant Language Teacher. There's also a
coordinator for International Relations.
Yeah. And that's more of a government position.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Interpretation and...
But most of the JETs will go over as an ALT, an Assistant Language Teacher. And the other sponsor, in addition to Monbusho, the Ministry of Education, is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So you go over as a bit of a cultural ambassador as well. So they're equally as interested in the cultural exchange aspect as they are in the actual teaching aspect.
But English speaking English or interpreting English is the way that you get in. It's because you are providing a service with your proficiency.
Yes, for sure. That's like the main element that they want to emphasize. Like all the ALTs are English teachers, and you co-teach with a different a JTE, which is a Japanese teacher of English. So even if you don't have substantial teaching experience, you're working with somebody who does have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way to get the foot in the door of like English language learning, and then the cultural element takes root because you are immersed in it. The community gets to know you because you're living in the community where you're teaching.
Yeah, but you have to want to be in a point in your life where taking on something completely different outside of your days in college, finding an adventure when you should be finding a job in America. But I mean, the point is you have to be somewhat adventurous to want to take on something completely different. Yeah.
Yes, to an extent, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's really not that difficult. It is an adventure, absolutely, but it's not a really difficult one that I would say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hand-holding that goes on as soon as you go over there. Someone is assigned to you and takes you around to the banks to set up a bank account and takes you to your apartment and that sort of thing.
And that's where then the immersion begins with you
Yes.
just acclimating
Yes.
through navigating some of the rougher parts about settling into a new country.
Yes, yes.
So Jennifer, your story is that what was the reason why you joined?
I had already I had done a couple of those homestays when I was in high school, like from Guam. I went to GW, and so I already had an interest in Japan, and I had studied a little bit Japanese. And then when I went to college, I did a double major in international relations and East Asian studies. So the program was really promoted by my own professors. They spoke very highly of it. And so I kind of knew that I wanted to apply when I graduated college. So to me, it was the next logical step. And it was a great opportunity, to be honest. I mean, you're still well remunerated. You know, there is a paycheck and everything. And even for my particular situation, my housing was subsidized. So there's a lot of stress that's also taken off of the process. Even though it is a big leap to go and live in Japan and work in Japan, there's a lot of benefits. Like he said, like it's a very good program that is well-rounded, has a great community to support you, as other jets as well as the jet program itself. So
becoming immersed in the life is not only having the job where you're helping with non-English speakers, but okay, Scott, let's go to your story. I mean, it all starts off usually with a house party. Which was the case in Scott's life back. What year was this, by the way? It was
1994.
1994. He was hot in the house party circuit. Yeah. So he goes to this house party, and the darndest thing happened.
Yeah, I met a few girls.
Yeah.
And
that's why you go to house parties.
saw one that I thought was particularly interesting
Yeah.
and asked her out, and one thing led to another, and we started dating.
Yeah, you started dating. Well, talk about becoming immersed. I mean, was she an English speaker, or did you teach each other the language?
She spoke good English at the time.
Okay.
She was an English teacher and had done a homestay in the United States in the past.
Oh, so you did have something in common.
Yes,
Was it?
yeah.
All right, so it was destined to be, is really what it was. You both happened to be at the same place at the same time, at the right time.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And then sort of the rest is history. I mean, you ended up staying longer than the program expected you to stay?
I was in the program for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then after those 2 years, I went back to the States to go to grad school. And after grad school, I came back to Japan and lived in Japan for another 18 years in Tokyo.
Yeah, so the opportunities for you, to now be, an English, proficient in English and in Japan, I mean, in Japanese, also opens up other opportunities for you then.
It was a great springboard.
Yeah.
And that's one of the points that I would definitely emphasize for those people that are interested in the program, that if you're looking for something to set yourself up for later in life, this is a great opportunity to really get to know a foreign culture and to learn a foreign language.
Yeah. Jennifer, for you, you went over as a musician as well. I mean, you were a musician as well, right?
Casually, yeah.
Casually,
yeah.
but then it sort of became a big deal for you.
Yeah, it was, I just picked up the guitar in college, just like a little bit, self-taught primarily. But yeah, I ran into a friend who, another ALT, who also liked the same kind of music that I did. And we, casually picked it up again at a bar or at a party, you just pick up some instruments, you start playing a little. He was singing, there was a piano, so we played a little, and then he invited me to join him on a performance in his community, because that's a big thing too. As a jet, you get involved in a lot of things in the community. There's a lot of opportunities there if you're interested. And then, from there, we eventually created a band.
Really?
Yeah, there were so many events.
Were
There's
you
so many
singing English songs?
Yeah, we sang English songs.
Songs in English.
Yeah, we did.
Did you learn any Japanese?
I think we had probably one
okay.
Japanese song, yeah, because he could speak a little bit. I mean, accent probably was a little off. But when you're singing, it's okay.
Nobody notices. Nobody
yeah.
notices. And so it opened up an opportunity for you to also be sort of a student of music after, just kind of fiddling with it.
Yeah, it was I had never imagined actually performing on stage anywhere.
Wow.
So doing that and that whole experience was just something, in my dreams, right? From my
Wow.
dreams, yeah.
You had to go to another country to fulfill
Yeah,
check it off the bucket
Yeah,
list.
what's nice about it too is as a jet, you can kind of reinvent yourself in a way. You have a new opportunity totally different environment. So if there is something you've always wanted to do, even if it's kind of like a side hobby, like here's your chance. You know?
Yeah. Well, nobody knows you.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it's very easy to entertain, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Like if you're an American coming to a foreign country, there's a certain amount of curiosity.
Yeah.
So almost anything you do was going to be acceptable.
There is some novelty, no
Yeah,
matter what you do,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Well, we're going to take a break here and nosh on some of this, but when we come back, I want to talk about just, there's something about immersing yourself in the lifestyle, which is easy to do in Japan because we all know what the Japanese are like just based on our tourism industry. We know what some of the idiosyncrasies are, but understanding the culture. There's such a wide difference between American culture and the Japanese culture, and so just how you navigated living in a community with people with not like culture, I guess. I mean, Western, yes, but not necessarily similar. So we'll talk about that while we eat, and we'll take a break and we'll be back. Thank you for coming back with us here on Something to Talk About. We're at King's in Mooning, noshing on some great food, having some conversation with, I guess I can call you guys Jets. You're calling yourselves Jets,
Jets,
so
yes.
that's your identification. It's like you guys have a secret handshake or anything.
Should work on that.
A couple of Jets. It's the Japan Exchange teacher program, and it's a global program. This is not just limited to Guam, relations between Guam and Japan.
Yep. They recruit people from England, from Australia, from South Africa.
Wasn't there a Russian girl the last time? Was she Russian? Irish.
Irish.
Irish, yeah, yeah.
Irish,
We
yes, from
interviewed
Ireland,
her
yes.
the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
time.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the idea is you go there and you've already been selected through an application process.
Yes.
So you're vetted on what your strengths are clearly. So the candidate has to really be able to work with the system. The system's already in place. You have to get along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are certain qualities they're looking for, and of course one of them is a curiosity about Japanese culture, and obviously teaching experience is nice, but also knowing about your own culture, because that's part of it, is that you
sharing,
are representing a different culture.
Let's talk about that. I said before the break we were going to try to tackle that one. You obviously married into it, so I'm pretty sure as an American male trying to date a Japanese woman that there were some things about her culture that you had to meet and probably learn pretty quick, because I think your engagement time was a pretty short one, wasn't it? From time of interest to time of engagement, it was less than a year. Am I right?
Actually, it was about 8 years.
I was about 8 years. So I read that wrong.
But you moved, but she moved with him.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you got to, okay. But so you, now you're taking her out of the house.
Yeah.
All
Right,
so that's
right,
even
right,
worse. All right, that's worse than the engagement. Okay, so you had to probably meet some qualifications in that area. Being an American male, I guess. Let's start there.
Well, you never really know how the family's going to accept you until you walk in there and you meet them for the first time.
Yeah.
And when I met her parents for the first time, I walked in. I was of course a bit nervous, and her mother, who's really outgoing, came up to me and said, "Come over here, sit down here." And I sat down at the table with her, and she walked over to the refrigerator and pulled out a bottle of beer and poured 2 glasses of beer, and we started drinking. And it was like that.
Well, that's a definite icebreaker.
Yeah, it was. It was great.
Nothing like alcohol. We're having a backstage issues happening here. Okay, so alcohol is the great equalizer. So splitting a beer was a deal breaker. So that was pretty cool. They must have liked that about you.
Yes.
But taking her out of country, it's one thing to have a beer with me. It's another thing to take my daughter to America. What was the commitment there?
There wasn't a whole lot of blowback on that because she had lived overseas before. She had done, overseas homestays and had visited overseas before I'd met her, so it wasn't that strange of a thing for her to take off.
Yeah. Did you, Jennifer, have any sort of challenges, being a lone, American woman in a foreign country, where I still think that we have the belief that a lot of people are still very conservative. Maybe a lot has changed in the way we view Japanese women. But during the time that you were there many differences?
Can't say it was too stark for me. I mean, where I did live was also very rural. It was like the second most rural prefecture in Japan.
Oh, how cool
So
is that?
yeah, real
What a big
Japan.
difference
Yeah.
from the rest of your life, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was novel no matter what, right? So everyone was really helpful. I think sometimes people were a little surprised that I would be willing to travel certain places or be a little adventurous. Like you said, being a jet does self-select a bit, that those people are going to be more interested in international things and doing and experiencing things that are
Sure.
outside of the comfort zone. So sometimes there was a little like remark, but it was not like negative. I think it was just that they were impressed or
Observing.
noticing that it was a little different. But I just kept on with that path, and I think people just accepted it and they were all right with that.
What was your greatest, your greatest relations? What was the best thing about the community that you lived in?
I had an Eikaiwa group, which is an English conversation group that I taught every week, and it was because it was a really small community. The number of people that were there, it was very few, but the slice of different population. Like there was a retired teacher, there was just a couple of homemakers, there was a younger lady that was a little bit older than me. With her in particular, I would say I had a great relationship. She eventually became our drummer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then
Wow.
later on, this was actually something really sweet. Like she got pregnant, and I threw a baby shower for her in the English conversation class, and had the other ALTs come in, and she was just floored because it was so like emotionally touching for her that like her husband had to step out because he was tearing up, and he does not show emotion. So it was just like
Yeah.
the degree of intimacy and the relationships that we built at that time. Yeah.
Now the stuff about the culture. I mean, the stuff about speaking English. Talk to me about the difficulties in having to help teach English when English is such an odd language. There's so many words that are derived from European
Yes, you're right.
languages as well, and so it's difficult, I would think, sometimes to try to explain why one word means one way, one thing, and it's spelled the same way but it's pronounced
Yes.
different, and that sort of thing. Are we good? Okay.
That is a big thing, that it makes you question,
Yeah.
like
what-
make you
what-
reflect and be like, oh, why do we do that?
why
And I
do
have
we
to
do
like
that?
look
Right,
it up on
right,
the internet,
right,
right?
right.
It
Right,
isn't,
right.
and it's not.
Yeah.
Like that, I was like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know.
Isn't it's oh
Right?
oh.
Right?
Oh, I never thought about
A
it.
student brought it up
It's
to me, and I was
not
just
and
like,
isn't.
It isn't, yeah.
It isn't. Yeah.
It's not.
Why do we do that to
I don't
ourselves?
know,
We make
I
it so
don't know.
complicated.
Yeah.
So some things you just have to just go, I don't know. You
Yeah,
just got to roll with it.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I think, that's just normal. Not everything's perfect, and even within the Japanese language, I think we both
Oh,
study
yeah, I think there's-
Japanese.
yeah.
There's like these rules that like that doesn't make sense.
Was it in the communication, like, for example, did your wife's family only speak Japanese?
Only Japanese.
So what was it like trying to communicate, with them, with the amount of Japanese that you could nail? I imagine it must have been pressure.
At the beginning, it was really choppy.
Yeah.
And I was basically speaking through her. She would have to sit and translate.
They must have been so impressed with you when you really started, like, chowing down with the food, using chopsticks. Did you fumble a little bit? Look kind of like a little bit of an idiot, like you were like awkwardly, trying to do things.
Not
that
too
feel
badly,
funny?
not
Okay,
too
well,
badly.
that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. The idea then is for the JET program is to try to get more people to be a part of the program. Are there more people are there enough people who want to go there from Guam, for example?
It's actually become a rather selective program.
Okay.
And
Harder to get in.
Yes, I forget what the acceptance rate was, but I think it was like 20%
Okay.
or possibly less.
So if you apply, and this is for anybody who has, it clearly has to meet some kind of qualification, is there an education requirement?
Yes.
Okay.
Undergraduate degree.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the basic. The second thing, there's an age requirement. Clearly, that obviously there's.
Actually, they've done away with the age requirement.
Oh, okay.
There was,
Okay.
but there isn't one anymore.
All right. So it can be as old as you need to be.
That's right.
Having a second go around at life.
That's right.
Okay.
Actually, I even know Jets who have like did it once and like later years like have done it
Went back
again.
and
I'm
did
not
it
sure if
again.
that's still possible, but
Okay.
yeah. So people
Well,
really
I guess
love
you
it.
just can inquire about it. But now it's a paid job.
Yes.
It's the cool thing about
Yeah.
it. And we're only 3 hours away, so there's
Yeah.
that. Do you get a choice of what prefecture you want to live in, or what area of Japan? Is it already dot grid? Is there
You
already a
can
grid?
ask for on the application. You can specify I want to live here, or I want to live in a rural area. I want to live in a big city. You can make requests.
Yeah.
Now they're not obligated to honor everything that you check, but you can make requests,
Okay.
and they'll try to.
Is the pay enough to sustain you?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saved enough to pay for graduate school afterwards in England.
Oh well, there
So
it is.
I mean,
So I don't know if you guys know the particulars. Is there a website? Do you know what the website is?
yes, I believe
Do you,
it should be on
you
that.
have the
site.
paper, so I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jet.
If you wanna, sorry.
It's right here. jetprogramusa.org.
Okay.
And they're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, so I guess if you have an interest, and
For
you've got to be
sure.
a little bit clearly adventurous, wanting to do something completely out of your comfort zone, and be able to show off your English speaking skills. Now, do you speak Japanese fluently?
Not fluently, but a fair
You can
amount.
get through.
Yeah.
And in your industry, you're in the food industry and in hospitality on Guam, that could actually lend better to your resume.
Oh, definitely,
with
yeah.
this
Gosh,
skill, and you
yes.
as well, right?
Absolutely.
Scott, well, I tell you, it's great to meet you again. Jennifer, it's always good to see you. Thanks for sharing your story. It's really cool. I
Thank
think
you
it's
for having
great.
us.
No, it's my pleasure. That'll do it for us here on Something to Talk About. We'll see you next time.